Welcome to the Still Kicking channel. We've decided to make this into a more tutorial based channel, so we're going to be making videos instructing Tae Kwon Do, going from very basic things such as stances and your front snap kicks and all that, and then heading over time, incrementally making it more complicated to suit any level of skill. So first off, we're going to be talking about stances, because in martial arts everything starts with your stance. If you don't have the correct stance for the technique you're trying to do, you may as well not do it. So first off, we're going to be talking about back stance. Tae Kwon Do back stance is comprised of a low, deep squat where 70% of your weight is on your rear leg and 30% on the front. That way you have the capability, if you need to, you can kick off the front leg without having to worry about shifting your weight too much. So it should be, start off, you have your L shape with your feet, then you step out a little bit further than your shoulder width, keeping a nice low stance. Should be nice and easy to move. This is not very useful in sparring, but very much for strengthening your legs, and you can use it a lot for takedowns as well. Okay, and second we have bow stance or forward stance, depending if you've done any training in the past. So you start here, step out into a long deep stance. So your rear leg should be locked out straight, with your front leg having a 90-degree angle from your knee down to your ankle. And this is very much used as a defensive stance and used commonly in most Tae Kwon Do forms. And lastly, we have our horse riding stance, or just horse stance if you've done some training in other countries before. So ideally you should have both feet facing directly forward like train tracks, pushing your butt out, keeping your back straight. This is very much used in a lot of stationary techniques, and you can really manipulate weight of your opponent from this stance as well. So with back stance, your rear hand needs to be just in front of your solar plex here, guarding the middle of your body, and your front arm needs to be in line with your shoulder, just bent facing forward. That way you can parry from here and return punch with the rear hand, and then you can block, kick, do whatever you need to do. Now the movement in back stance is very important because it's all about the movement of the hips and the pivot. So from here, if you're moving into another back stance, you're going to pivot, step forward, pivot, step forward. Always making sure your guard is coming with you. So back stance is commonly where you're going to throw most of your kicks from. Because you've got this deep stance, you naturally have a spring to lift up your hips and draw the power forward. Always keeping your guard up, so you're starting from here. When you kick, you switch hands to make your rear hand your front, guarding your leg. Up like this, step down and block. You can use this for front kick, side kick, whatever you need to do for the situation. So here's from the other angle doing the same kick, so we'll just do front kick, and side kick. So next off we're going to be talking about our front walking stance, or bow stance. So this is once again long deep stance. This is used a lot in traditional Tae Kwon Do forms, where your punches usually come straight from your hip, and it's very much used usually as a defensive stance. So you'll be stepping forward, blocking down, blocking up, whatever you might need to do at the time. Okay, so next off is our horse stance. So as we know, this is low, deep, using our muscles. In traditional Tae Kwon Do, all punches come from the hip. Now personally, I use more of a boxing stance when I fight, but if we're learning traditional Tae Kwon Do, you need to know the right way. So coming straight from the hip and using a twisting motion, keeping the muscles loose, and then snapping right at the end. So your muscles are all loose, including the shoulders, coming from the hip, pivoting and twisting the fist at the last moment. Also, this stance is very good for mobile movements. So say from here, you have someone at a long range, you can't just kick them straight from where you are. You can skip back and kick them from a long distance, making them move away. So as some of you may know, Tae Kwon Do is very kick oriented. It's probably, I'd say, about 70% kicks to 30% hand movements. So typically Tae Kwon Do is mostly used back fist, chops, that kind of movement. It's not a boxing style. Now personally, I've done a bit of both, and I prefer to stand in more of a boxing stance and then kick from the same thing. But typically Tae Kwon Do always punches from the hip. Alright, I hope you enjoyed the video. Next week we'll be coming with some more advanced movements and mainly focusing on the kicks of Tae Kwon Do. So we'll be focusing on side kick, turning kick, back kick, you know, most of the generic kicks without moving into the aerial realm. But hopefully you enjoyed, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.